Hello guys, hi. How are you doing? I hope you guys are doing fine. I know it's been long, and welcome back to the Lab Podcast. This is your host Andati Morris, and I want to thank you so much. Before I even go deep and I start having the conversation of today, I want to thank every single person for being part of the family, especially in the Hub Podcast and also Smart Talk Cafe, and also from Anika Initiative, and also from the Immortal Moments. I really thank you guys, and I hope you guys are doing fine. So today, I'm going to have a conversation specifically looking into the most emerging issue that has been happening, especially here in Kenya, and the discussion about development, the discussion about loans, the discussion about us moving forward, especially in the aspect of development and in the aspect of finance. And maybe I just wanted to do one or two. I've also taken a little bit of some notes, and I've put down some notes that I really wanted us to discuss, especially you guys who are here, and us to look at how can we push Africa from moving from where it is to somewhere that we want to be, especially for my generation. And for a very long time, I've been seeing how the political environment has been not going the right way that we really want to do. But hey, it is something that is there. So it is us as a people to look for a way how we can change the environment and how we can move forward, especially for us being the citizens of Africa. And we want Africa to move from where it is, because I've always been telling my friends, right now we are Africa 2.0, which means Africa is really developing and moving at a very high pace. When you're looking at the number of enterprises that are growing, the number of startups that are being brought and that are being brought into the economy, and how it is really affecting the development. And if you look maybe from a perspective of someone who has done business, for those who are joining me, and those who have done business, you can realize that the GDP, especially for the whole world during the first and second century, it was really going up. Then from the third to the 10th, all the way to the 20th century, the GDP of the world has been a little bit stagnating. But something that is quite interesting is Africa, based on number one, the population. When you're looking at the population having a median age, the whole continent having a median age of 19, and the population growing, especially for the young people, it means the entrepreneurial aspect of the population, especially the people, the citizenry of different countries here in Africa, is something that needs to be put at a very high end, and at focus, in terms of focus, the focus should be really high, because with the population growing at that specific rate, it means enterprises should also grow, because the continent has to create a space where these people get opportunities, so that at the end of the day they can accelerate the development aspect, and also the movement, especially for the economy, to a higher rate. So let's see how the discussion is going to go, and if you have something to add, maybe from whatever I'm going to say or whatever I'm going to share, is please feel free to add or at the comment section. And today I really wanted to look at the industrial revolution in Africa, and looking at Africa in the aspect of Africa 2.0 in the 21st century. And the first thing that I really want to us to discuss is how technology, especially the role of technology in terms of creation of an environment where businesses can grow, and businesses can businesses can thrive. Because number one, we are at the corona stage, so everything is going online. And how are we going to use the online platform in terms of the development of different aspects that are in Africa? And the fact is, if we do not engage or if we do not improve on how we are using technology, in order to support ourselves, not only just at the educational aspect, but also at the business aspect, and how also different countries are trying to support the business models, especially for the younger people and the business models that are running online. Then I will tell you, this is going to be a very big problem for us, because the world is moving towards the innovation age. It's also moving towards the technological age, and we need to look for a way how we can use technology in terms of improving the specific aspects of environment that we have, looking at the aspect of um, innovation, looking at the aspect of talent, look at the aspect of how are we using our specific talents in order to improve the business environment, or the development environment that is in Africa. And if we do not move to that model and make sure that we use that model in a way that we expound on the different aspects in terms of the innovation, in terms of the talent, in terms of whatever these young people are bringing to the table. If we do not improve and emphasize on that specific thing, then at the end of the day, I will say we are going to have a very big problem. I'll give an example. If you look at different artists, especially those who play basketball, and those who go for runs, especially for the ones that are in Jamaica, and I'll give an example of Jamaica, those who run in Jamaica. Jamaica have an event where people go to run, and the whole country comes and sit down and look at how these people are running. Like, these are people who breed themselves, expose themselves in areas in which they can improve themselves in terms of running. That's why they produce such kind of people. And you have seen they've totally emphasized and sticked, and also the country has looked at how it is going to build resources in terms of improving this specific area, and you can see the results that they're having. So us looking at a way how we can improve and focus in these specific areas, especially the talent areas, and what kind of skills these people are bringing on board, especially in the aspect of it is an expertise from them themselves, a talent or something of the sort. Then now we are not doing justice, especially for the industrial revolution or the developmental aspect, especially here in Africa. So we need to change that mindset from being sitting in an office, and also the government and also the education sector should also look in a way where we're improving people not in the basis of how they're going to be employed into a system, but how are they going to how is the system creating different opportunities and a flow of money in these specific opportunities, where these people can use these opportunities in order to grow themselves, not only just at an office level, but at a personal level, and at also a development and an innovational aspect of development. And for us, I always tell people, and especially those who are my friends, and we need also us as Africans to break away from this group thinking, because we need to understand one thing: truth doesn't care about the different feelings that we have. And the argument that I've been seeing, especially online, in the basis of loans, and also in the basis of how we are trying to get help, is people are getting into it into an in an emotional perspective, and we really need to go not to get into that. We need to look at it in a factual basis, in a way that how are these things being used, especially if the country is taking loans. How are we making sure that yes, these loans are taken, but at the end of the day, how is it being used? Not the aspect of no, do not. Because if you say do not, let's bring it in the aspect of I'll give an example with people who are under the aspect of political correctness, or I will stick with political correctness, because the other one that I wanted to say will bring a little bit of an issue. And uh, people who are stuck in that area, they really focus on the problem right now. And when the consequences come, they tend to pull back. I'll give an example. I think this is an example that maybe so many people won't love it or won't like it, but I will give it. The issue with what do we call them, these journalists that talked, I think they said something which for me, after listening to it, I came to realize there was no problem. Whatever they said, they were trying to help the particular people who are also attacking them. Um, and the fact is, after they tried to do that, the people attacked them. And when the consequences came, especially at a later stage, everyone who was now shouting and being at the forefront stepped back, and they were like, okay, where it has reached, I cannot move, I cannot be part of it. But now we cannot create solutions with such kind of thinking, where every single person, when it comes to the business aspect, or it comes to the human rights aspect, or when it comes to the developmental aspect, comes in when there is a problem, they come and shout. But when the consequences and responsibilities is attached to it, they tend to step back. And for us as Africans, especially in the industrial revolution, and also the economic development, we really need to move away from that and move into what kind of solutions are we creating right now, and how are we going to bring, how are we making sure those who are, because I have friends who do photography, do videography, how are we making sure that those specific people grow and there is circulation, there is money flow in those specific areas, so that at the end of the day we have a community or an industrial aspect growing in that region, where the definite number of people who are trying to engage or are trying to enter into that specific area don't have to look for white collar jobs, or don't have to put their tools down, or don't have to move away from their ambition or move away from their talent, just because they need to fit in a space or in a society where it doesn't support their growth or the development in different things. And first of all, whatever we really need also to look into is the kind of the financial models that we have, especially that we implement in Africa. The kind of models that we have are models that were created for Europe in the 20th century, that were to help Europe, America, and different areas in Asia in terms of their development in that specific time. And you find trying to put such kind of models, especially here in Africa, and not looking into the different capitals that are being provided, the different resources uh, that are available, especially here in Africa, and the kind of businesses that can work really well here in Africa, without putting those in order, brings a very big disconnect, especially when we want to talk or we want to discuss issues to do with development. Because yes, the models really look good, especially at paper level or at document level, but they really don't work, especially here in Africa. So looking at what kind of resources we have, especially I will look into the minerals, looking at into mining, looking into agricultural aspect, looking into technology, because the greater population, especially in Africa, is really getting into technology. Look at me right now doing a podcast, doing a video. It's like embracing technology in one or two ways. So in which way are we using these specific resources in order to develop the business models that are currently best, especially here in Africa? When you're looking at technology, when you're looking at the different perspective or different areas that we have. And we have come to realize, with the more engagement into these business models, it has also uh, divided the gap, especially for those who are rich and poor, because those business models, especially, I'll give an example for here in Kenya, really work for people who understand those models very well, those who are in Nairobi and can run very good businesses, and they can survive, or they have a system that they can survive either through importation or through exportation of whatever product or service that they're providing. And it is giving out a very big gap. And you can look at the aspects of health, you can look at the aspect of education, you can look at the aspects of the core things that Africans really need. Because I traveled to my rural areas some time back, and we had a discussion with several friends of mine. And the biggest aspect that they were looking at, especially for help, was the health, the education, and the agriculture. So even if I brought to them technology and brought to them phones and everything, they really, yes, it is something that will really help them in terms of marketing whatever product they were using, but at that moment they really didn't need it. So the kind of business model they wanted is, how can we improve our agricultural sector? Because if we improve our agricultural sector, for me as a person who is living in the rural aspects of Africa, I'm able to produce whatever product that I have to produce. I'm able to take it to the market, and the market is ready to take it, and I'm going to sell it. Then through the finances that I'm going to get, I really need now to have a health center that is very close, where I am 100% sure if I have a problem, especially for health, I don't have to go for a long distance. I need somewhere that I can go but that is very close. When I go very close, then at the end of the day, I'm assured that my in the health sector I am okay. So which means in terms of improving my productivity, it is going to be at a higher rate. So those are the kind of aspects or issues that for them, that is what they wanted us to solve. They didn't want us to build an office or give them phones or give them everything. They just wanted, how can I improve the agricultural industry so that whatever they produce can be sold, they can get to the market very fast. Number two, they can get the right seeds, they can grow the right crops, and when they can grow the right crops, especially the ones that are needed in the market, then at the end of the day they can support themselves in different ways. So looking at, when I'm going back, looking at the business models that we try to incorporate, especially here in Africa, and the ones that have been that have been made in US, you see now the divide, especially for the one who is in Nairobi or the one who is working under the white collar thing, I'll call it that way, is going to benefit more. But the person who is at home wants, and at the agricultural aspect of it, really won't develop. The one who wants to develop his art won't really develop. So bringing now the divide between the rich and poor becoming deep, no. So becoming a very big problem that that is going not to support us. And don't take me wrong, don't take me in a wrong way. I'm not saying that we really don't need the help, or one thing, the help that we get from countries abroad. The aspect that we really need to focus on is the sustainability of whatever we ask for help, or whatever models we want to develop. Because I will tell people, through my discussions with several people, I rather improve the talent and improve a person based on whatever resource him as a person is, whatever he can put on the table when it comes to talent, when it comes to skills. I rather improve that, because in terms of the sustainability model of it, even if I am not around, at the end of the day, they can support themselves. No. So looking at the unsustainability engagements of how we get these things, looking at foreign loans, I always tell people, for a very long time, I've been telling my friends, for me, I feel Africa really doesn't need these things. It doesn't need the loans, because yes, it comes from a good side where it is a concern, and it has really good intentions, but it has reached a point, fact, maybe for me it is a fact, but Africa really doesn't need pity at this moment that we are in. It really doesn't need pity, because pity brings, there's a difference between pity and putting yourself in someone's shoes. Because putting yourself into someone's shoes, you can help them but not sympathize with them. So you can empathize but not sympathize. And empathy is sustainable. Sympathy is not sustainable in a very big way. So at the end of the day, I say we can get whatever aspects that we want to get in terms of help, in terms of loans, in terms of everything we need, but we need to look at a way how Africa can support itself. And Africa can support itself in one very big way, creating the right environment for the right opportunities that people need. If someone is a camera person, especially for the one or for the people who are doing or making this a reality right now. For me, I wanted to create a podcast. I wanted to have a discussion. I wanted people to listen to whatever I say. I already created an opportunity for a specific person to come in and be like, okay, Andati, I have a camera, and I think apart from just doing it as an audio and posting it on a podcast, I can shoot a video, and at the end of the day, when I shoot a video, we can support oneself in one way or another. So creating an environment where whatever I am doing or whatever talent I am trying to exercise creates an opportunity, or creates an environment where it is an opportunity for another person, so that we can create, or we can create mechanisms that create and broaden access to the opportunities that are here in Africa. So if we can, it is a way we can create these mechanisms to broaden these opportunities, then at the end of the day, we'll be moving forward and Africa can really support itself. And this moves from at the ground level all the way to the highest level. And yeah, we really need to look for a way how we can create the mechanisms of these opportunities. And creating these opportunities can really help different people grow in different perspectives and different areas, especially for development. Because I think I was reading a magazine, one from Rwanda and the one from Kenya, and they were looking at the economical aspect. Because I'll give an example. For Rwanda, there is this document that they have passed, Agenda 2050, and they're looking into aspects where they can move away from um, they can move into industrialization and service provision. And if they can be able to produce whatever products that they can make in their own country, number one, they can create opportunities for these young people. Startups can grow, but at the end of the day, we can break the aspects of people relying on items that come from abroad. And I loved the document, and it gave me a perspective now from that document going to the magazines that I was saying. And the growth of startups in Africa, especially after the corona period went, has grown to 40%, which means startups are being built at a very high rate, especially here in Africa. And the issue is, as much as the startups are growing, they are also dying at a very high rate. And it is because of the kind of environment that we have, which means there are people who are in this continent, or there are people who are in this country, especially let me talk about Kenya. There are people who are in the country who really have the talent, have the skills, are ready to offer those services. I've already looked at the economy and looked at the specific gaps that they can fill, and they are ready to do it. Because if someone is creating a specific startup to do these specific things, then at the end of the day, he has already looked at the market. But the problem is the availability of finances, the availability of whatever I was saying, the mechanisms in which opportunities are grown and they're broadened, they're not are not that available. Looking at these different perspectives that I've said, and looking at what kind of environment are we building, especially under the education sector, and also under the investment approach that we use, especially for us here in Africa. It looks very It's very difficult for them to grow at a longer pace. I'll give an example for Kenya. For Kenya, for you to just have a startup and have the documents for you to run your own company, oh my God, oh my God. Kenya always say, utalia, my friend, utalia. You'll give up. By the time you are getting your registration documents, even the idea has already become old. Someone else is using. So you find the environment that we have created for these startups to grow is very difficult for them to survive. So you look at now, their lifespan has become very short. because through the whatever I was reading through the magazines, they were saying the shelf life of different companies, especially for startups that are run by young people, that is people who are 35 and below, young, even that wenye wako 30 wanasema wako hapo, so 35 and below has a shelf life of only 2 years. And 2 years is a very short time, because under the business model that I have learned, you need to run a company and it needs to stay for 999 days, a 999-day rule. If it reaches 999-day rule, which is a period of maybe 3 years, then at the end of the day, you have already learned the skills that you need to in terms of marketing, in terms of production, in terms of every single thing. So you find that this has really affected the shelf life of these people, and it is becoming a very, 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 very big problem. So you find the startups come, there is high growth of startups, especially when corona came and people were laid off, people are not having businesses, so startups short. Here in Kenya, it short at a very high rate, but you find their shelf life in terms of growth has come. So we need to change our perspectives on how we look things, and especially for the generation that are coming up. This generation that is coming up, especially for the young people. For me, example, who has a son who's growing into this system, I'm looking at a way, how can I change his mentality, not to look into being getting an office job or getting this, but getting a perspective where you can be a plumber, you can do this, you can do all these different aspects, you have a talent, you can sing, and whatever you are doing is going to help you in one way or another make money for you, and you grow as a person. So that they always say, if you're a slave, you cannot compare the productivity of a slave and the productivity of a person who is doing it under free will. Someone who is doing it under free will does the best because it is what they love and it's what they like. Someone who feels like they have been conditioned to go through hardship in order to achieve a specific thing, their productivity becomes very low. So we really need to look at aspects that especially focus and help Africa. So looking, as I said earlier, looking at the mineral aspect, looking at also the agricultural aspect, and looking at how we can move from, instead of us importing so many things, as we start producing our own things. So production gets into it. How can we grow industries? Because for a very long time, I've been sitting and I've been talking to several people. I always feel pity of how we are trying to open so many malls and we do not want to create so many companies. Unaona? So if you are creating so many malls and the products that are being sold in these specific malls are products that have already been imported, then you're doing an injustice for so many people, especially who are at the lower level. So how can we move also an aspect of where we are looking at into the industrialization, creation of big different industries? Let's create these industries. Look at government. Let the government create an environment where there is energy, enough energy to run different companies. When this energy is already available and the environment for me to create a company is very easy, then at the end of the day, someone who has seen and he can be able to produce more products is able now to open that specific mall. Then they can do it. So uh, based on whatever we have just discussed, we need to change our perspective, especially for this generation, the generation that I am in, and also the generation that is coming, where we are trying to help these people understand the aspects of how can they develop, number one, the mining or the mineral sector. Number two, looking at the agricultural sector, how are we developing the agricultural sector, especially here in Africa. Then how are we looking into the aspects of manufacturing and production. Just as I'd said, the discussion that I had, especially for Rwanda and whatever they're improving, looking in the aspects of us moving away from us getting products from abroad and us improving the products that we have, especially as a country, and how we can develop Africa from it just being called a developing continent into a well-developed continent. So I want to thank you who has joined us for the episode today. Please go down in the comment section, uh, let's create this conversation. Let's have this conversation in where Africa can create its own solutions, not as blaming or shifting blame, but as now taking the initiative in us making sure this thing is working very well. Uh, Catch this episode on our social media pages, Anika Initiative, Smart Talk Cafe, and our podcast, the Hub podcast. You can get the audio of this podcast, and a shout out to one very main production team, the Immortal Moments. Thank you for the production, my people. Let's get in the comment section. Let's make this discussion a reality, and let's get to work. Let's get whatever we say or whatever we say. Let's make it work. Let's get on ground. Thank you so much for having me.